On the 24th of September, 1844, the first ever international cricket match was played between the USA and Canada. It was a 3-day match played in Georgetown, New York. On June 1, 2024, at Texas, Canada and the United States will kick off the 2024 T20 Cricket World Cup. The hosting rights for these World Cups were awarded to Cricket West Indies. But as a good neighbor, Cricket West Indies reached out to USA Cricket and asked them if they would like to share those hosting rights. The ICC agreed, and it now became the Cricket World Cup hosted by Cricket West Indies and the United States. I applaud this initiative by Cricket West Indies to share the World Cup with the United States of America for two main reasons. There are more flights from different countries in the world going directly to the United States than any other country. That means airlift are provided. The second reason is that the USA is the ICC third largest source of earning. In other words, outside of India and England, the USA is the next best financial market for the ICC. When the schedule was released on Friday, and this was deliberately done to be released over the weekend, many fans were left disillusioned, and immediately questions were being asked about the viability of the tournament to their countries. So agitated that the situation became that Cricket West Indies president was forced to issue a statement in an attempt to quell the growing unrest. I don't know about you, but it's the first time in history I have ever seen a statement coming from CWI President on the weekend. I have seen a number of cricketers, past cricketers, have died in recent time, have transitioned in recent time. And the statement from CWI always came out at the start of the week. The pressure on Dr. Shallow is great. I read in part the statements that he have made, and my three guests will analyze these statements segment by segment in a few minutes. But let me read that statement in part, what Dr. Shallow said. The ICC Men's T20 World Cup holds immense promise for the Caribbean, not just in terms of cricketing favor, but also as a catalyst for economic growth and regional development. This tournament is projected to yield over $300 million in direct economic impact. It is anticipated to captivate more than 1 billion viewers, elevating Caribbean as a sporting and tourist destination. This influx of visitors, heightened tourism and business prospect will create a ripple effect. The impact on jobs, revenue streams, and the overall quality of life for our citizens will be substantial. Those were the comments from Dr. Shallow, the president of Cricket West Indies, over the weekend. Joining me this morning to discuss the entire fixtures and the implications of it are Garvey, along with Bobby and Andre. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Now, let's start with Garvey as he being our guest. Garvey, I want you to take a look for me at the fixtures for Guyana, Barbados, and Texas. What are your views on these fixtures? Do you think that it will be beneficial to these nations? Some of them, all of them, or none of them? If you were living in, say, Guyana, would you have accepted that fixtures, Garvey? You being the guest, welcome to the show. You go ahead first, Garvey.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, before I actually look at the fixtures, right? What I would like to comment on here is, in my view, the incompetence of the West Indies board. Because I mean, proactively thinking, I mean, everybody knows the teams that were in the tournament long before the fixtures were released, correct? And if you're going to basically subcontract your part of the, I mean, what they did with the United States Cricket Board is basically subcontracted the World Cup in terms of hosting it. Um, I'm flabbergasted to know that Mr. Shallow and the people in charge were not proactive enough to say, hey, listen, if you're going to get the marquee teams like the Indias and so forth that are going to bring in the bulk of the revenue, we have to do some negotiation in terms of the revenue sharing if we are not able to get the teams that are going to bring in the bigger monies in the Caribbean. So that is my first thought process. So now that the fixtures are actually released, if you're the Guyanese board or the Bayesian board, I mean, you're putting like it's like a day late and a dollar short situation here now because I mean, what are they gonna do? I mean, they already bid it, they got their venues ready, and now they have been blindsided with this whole thing. So I think the problem here lies with the West Indies board and their inability to negotiate a fair deal where their people would have been compensated properly for being the first ones to be offered the World Cup in the first place before the United States.
I thank you very much, Garvey, for your comments. Andre, we will come to you now, Andre. What are your thoughts about the matches that were awarded to New York, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Andre, welcome.
Yes, welcome. Thank you, Carlton, and hello to the viewers all over the world, wherever you may be. Now, let me start with New York, right? Being that New York is the first time that New York would have hosted a big cricket tournament. Now, let me just put this out there: that the United States, the Indian diaspora in the United States is over 4.4 million people, right? Now, of that 4.4 million people, you have over 700,000 in New York City alone, right? So New York were actually given 7 games. And of the 7 games, you have 3 matches. India will take part in 3 of those matches in of the 7 games, which is huge. And you can understand why, because if over 700,000 people Indians live in New York City, you can understand why ICC would do such a thing. And probably the biggest game of the first round fixture is that with Pakistan. And we know that we don't get any bigger than India versus Pakistan. So you very much understand that. Another big game, the first game that will be played in New York, in New York, will be the Sri Lanka versus South Africa game, which is another big fixture. So you have 7 games being played in New York, in Long Island to be specific. So I think New York it's a really shot in the arm for New York. It's huge. I think they stand to benefit a great deal, right? So 7 games, they will only get first round games, but I think they'll be fine with that. And I think that's pretty good for them. In St. Vincent, there are allotted 5 games in total, 3 first round games and two round of 8 games. So they stand to have at least two big games to be played in St. Vincent, right? In St. Lucia will host 6 games, 3 first round games and 3 in round of 8. And we know that 3 round of 8 games we'll see, some of the big teams in there. But the biggest game for St. Lucia in round 1 will be the West Indies versus Afghanistan, which will be a very, very, to me, a very pivotal game. It will be the final first round game for West Indies, and I expect that to be a very, very large turnout. So I would think that all these 3, New York, St. Vincent, and St. Lucia, would be pretty happy based on what is given to them. So I think all should be happy right here. I don't see any issues right here. So everybody should be pretty satisfied.
Okay, Bobby, When you look at the fixtures for Lauderhill, where you are living, Trinidad and Tobago and Antigua, how would you react to those fixtures, Bobby?
Well, in Lauderhill, I was expecting more games, given the fact that I think Lauderhill is the only place that plays international cricket, differently from Texas in the United States. And I always say Lauderhill is the capital of cricket in the United States. So, I was expecting them to have more games. And, for the Indian fans too, they've only gotten one game in Lauderhill, and they always have a pretty big turnout in Lauderhill. So it's I was kind of disappointed at the matches that Lauderhill got, and I don't think they have any of what I would call premium matches, because they have Sri Lanka, Nepal, USA versus Ireland, and India versus Canada, Pakistan versus Ireland. So I mean, Pakistan versus Ireland might be the biggest game there. So I think Lauderhill, it was disappointed for Lauderhill. And then for Trinidad, I was surprised that Trinidad only have 5 games. They do have a semi-final, but Trinidad, I think Trinidad in terms of support for cricket in the Caribbean, it is right up there, either first or second. So I'm a bit surprised Trinidad only gotten 5 games, right? And yeah, one of the games though, it's with West Indies versus New Zealand. And yeah, so Antigua got some pretty good games. I think it's decent for Antigua, especially with CPL returning, and they've been longing for some 2020 in Antigua. So I think they got some pretty good games, especially in the second round. So I think it was a good deal for Antigua, if you ask me.
Thank you very much, Bobby. Now, I'm going to just good morning to all those in the chat. Mr. Casanova Kushagara here. And Damian Hilton. Here's Damian Hilton. And I'm coming to you with this one, Garvey. Because I know that you and Damian Hilton would have pressured and would have made a big fuss of it. Damian Hilton is here saying, Garvey, good morning, gentlemen. Jamaica dodged a bullet. New York was always been positioned to benefit the most from the World Cup, given its large Indian population and Pakistan population. Garvey, did Jamaica dodge a bullet?
Did Jamaica dodge a bullet? I would think not. I disagree with that, because here's my premise for disagreeing with that. When you think about the numbers that they were talking about, like the $2 million that they would have invested to get this going, based on what Andre is saying there about we getting Super 8 matches here in the Caribbean, I honestly think that if we had hosted World Cup matches here in Jamaica, I mean, one round of 8 match in that World Cup would, I think, $2 million would be raised in a jiffy of one of those matches. And then you could never put a dollar figure to the free tourism advertising that you get. I mean, I brought up some information on the radio that we spent $6 million almost for a 30-second Super Bowl ad. I mean, how could you quantify the tourism gains from hosting World Cup matches? I mean, to me, I can't see how we'd have ended up at a net loss. I can't see that.
Okay. Andre, did Jamaica dodge a bullet?
And as let me just, Garvey alluded to that. I think more than likely, if Jamaica had bid for the World Cup, would have gotten at least a game or two in the Super 8. And once you reach the Super 8 stages, that is where the big teams are. And the fact that Jamaica is the largest of the English-speaking Caribbean country, I'm going to talk not speaking of, in terms of population, that more than likely would have had games probably hosting, say, Indian matches, because India being so close to the United States, I think that they would have come out in their numbers. So I really thought that Jamaica lost out big time, and I don't believe that they dodged a bullet any at all. I do believe, but look at St. Vincent. St. Vincent is going to get 2 games, St. Vincent will host round of 8 games. So I think that Jamaica, if they had bid for the World Cup, I'm thinking that they would have got at least a few super round games and probably a semi-final. So I think that we lost out there.
Bobby, we're seeing here where Damian Hilton is saying again, if Guyana and Trinidad could get shafted and they currently have more cash in West Indies cricket, what would have happened to Jamaica? Do you think that Jamaica dodged a bullet, Bobby?
If that bullet, no, I don't think they dodged a bullet. I think they made a mistake. I think with this World Cup having 20 teams and getting some of the Super 8s game, I think they would have made some money. I don't think they dodged a bullet. I think it was they should have at least gotten maybe 3-4 games.
All right. So the next question I want to ask you, gentlemen, is that this is from Dr. Shallow. Dr. Shallow is saying that we are going to make $300 million US. Please, I want to ask, and let's start with you, Bobby, because you're on the screen. That question. Sorry about that, Bobby. Start with this question for me, Bobby. Dr. Shallow is saying that the ICC meant T20 World Cup holds immense promise for the Caribbean people, not just in terms of cricketing favor, but also as a catalyst for economic growth and regional development. I am not such a bright person, Bobby. How is this possible? How do you align cricket with this statement from Dr. Shallow?
I mean, I guess with the economical growth he's talking about is in terms of tourists. That's the only thing I could see. I'm still trying to figure out what he meant by regional development. Is it that in cricket or in infrastructure in the countries? I don't know what he means by regional development. But if they're gonna make 300 million, then I could see how it could help out some of the other countries.
No, yes, but and that's what I want. I want Garvey to address for me. Garvey, how is it? How is the West Indies going to benefit and earn $300 million? Enlighten me. Enlighten our audience.
Well, when Mr. Deering, that would be Chris Deering, he was on the sports desk one day, and he was explaining about the whole revenue sharing that took place when the World Cup was hosted here in 2007. So I am assuming that is something along the same lines that Mr. Shallow is talking about, where the money is put into a pool and then it's divided up amongst the countries. And then also maybe he's talking about what they're going to gain from TV rights. I don't want to speak for Mr. Shallow, but I don't know the TV rights money, how much they are earning off of that. In terms of advertising, gate receipts. Maybe he has done some type of return on investment thing, and this is what it says. So I don't really want to speak on that. But one thing I know, I can't see any way that we would not make money, because I mean, right now T20. I mean, Mr. Deering gave the numbers where he said that T20 is like the second most marketable event right now in the world, behind the NFL.
No, and Mr. Deering is right in part, but he's not totally right. And I find, I'm telling you, from my perspective, and I say this without fear, that Mr. Deering is saying something that I would like to question him about. For example, the IPL, which earns, I think, $13 million per match, US dollars, is second only to the NFL, which earns about $35 million US dollars per match, somewhere there. It is second only to it. But that is the IPL alone. The CPL, the PSL, the BBL, the Smart Smash, the SA20, they are not earning anywhere near to $13 million US dollars a match for Mr. Deering to collectively group all the T20 matches and say they are the second highest earner. Not true. The IPL is the second highest earner per match, but not as a collective. T20 cricket doesn't. Andre, take this question. He's saying, The influx of visitors and heightened tourism and business prospect will create a ripple effect. The impact on jobs, revenue streams, and the overall quality of life for our citizens will be substantial. Is Mr. Shallow saying something that we should just tear up the paper and bin it, or is he making sense?
I mean, I think he's making a lot of sense, you know, and I think that the country that bid for the World Cup, and that's the countries in the Caribbean that will host World Cup, I think they're very much looking forward to hosting. Without a doubt, you're gonna have increased numbers in terms of persons getting jobs, increasing number in terms of the revenue streams. It is going to be the tourism, of course, will be heightened, and at that point in time in the Caribbean in the summer, I doubt that, you know, we will actually see it will be a lot of money in the coffers of the Trinidad and the Barbados and the St. Vincent, and of course it is advertisement to these nations that is not being paid for. So I'm very much in agreement with Dr. Shallow in this regard.
No, but Damien is asking a very interesting question here, gentlemen. And this is where I'm having the challenge. And I must tell you all that when cricket played in Jamaica, it benefits me personally. So I want to see cricket play in Jamaica. I have nothing against T20 cricket. But Damien is asking a good question here. All we are hearing, this is what Damien is saying. And don't forget, Kenroy Thomas, I saw your question, Kenroy. How will they make the 300 million? They would just have answered that. But Damien is saying, all we are hearing is tourism. These benefits are not qualified at all. Bobby, how your response to that question from Damien? All we are hearing
is tourism.
Tourism. But no, they have not been qualified. Good question there, Damien. Very good question.
Very good question. I mean, I think tourism would help the countries, you know, because Jamaica definitely benefit from tourism, you know, on a yearly basis. So tourism would help, because this is what a lot of these islands, you know, this is what they rely on, tourism. So, I mean, I can see why tourism is there, but if he's asking how will it benefit us cricketing wise, then I guess we'll have more money to spend on the youngsters.
There seems to be, Mr. Casanova is saying that we are counting our eggs before they hatch. And Kenroy Thomas is making a point that, and Garvey, I want you to address it, and then I come to you, Andre. So Garvey, and Kenroy Thomas is saying, asking the question, as Jamaica finished paying for the loss they made in the last World Cup we hosted, Garvey, and I think why Kenroy is asking you that question is that you would have listened to Chris Deering, who was the CEO of that tournament. So what was his reaction to a question like this?
Well, I think if you listen to the interview, he was he was kind of vague in answering that type of question. So in my position, I couldn't be in any position to give any clarity on that. But what I would like to, just now when you were giving that presentation on the amount of monies made per match, I was thinking to myself that what would be interesting if you could have the numbers for the last T20 World Cup and know how much monies were made per match in that World Cup. Do you have those numbers?
No, for the last T20 World Cup?
Yes.
No, I do not have those numbers. What I can tell you though, what I can tell you is that this World Cup is expected to make more money than the last T20 World Cup, because the deal that the ICC signed with the broadcasting partner out of India, I think is Disney Sport. I don't quite remember. It is about 3 times the deal that was there before, the amount, the value of it. So we expect that this World Cup will generate more money from at least broadcasting right. And with 20 teams in it, we don't know if the distance to the Caribbean will be a factor. And that's why I was glad that the World Cup was shared with America, because as I said in my preamble, there are more airlifts to America than anywhere else on Earth. So that is good for the game. That means people will come in. But what I want to ask you though, Andre, do you think that the president of Cricket West Indies has lost political capital?
Tiffany McKenzie. Say that again?
Do you think the president of Cricket West Indies has lost political capital? As so many stakeholders are very disappointed with the scheduling.
That's a very interesting question there. But to be honest, I think that the scheduling has been pretty much fair for the most part, because apart from say India and Pakistan, we won't be getting India and Pakistan first round games. How else could it have been shared? I don't know what else. You have to realize that ICC, it's a money-making affair for the ICC wants to make money. So I doubt very much there's anything else that he could have done. I think that with Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Trinidad, all these countries getting round of 8 games, and we're playing the semi-final and final in the Caribbean, I think it's a fair deal. And I wouldn't say that it probably lost, political mileage based on the fixtures per se. I don't think so. I think it's fair enough, and I think Dr. Shallow, it'd be pretty much okay knowing that, the Caribbean got its fair share.
All right, so Bobby, this question is for you, and I want Garvey to follow up with the same question after Bobby. So Bobby and Garvey, Jamaica and Dominica would have been 2 other countries in the mix. So we would have 11 hosting countries instead of 9. We saw where countries only getting 5 matches. It means, therefore, if Jamaica and Dominica were still in the mix, matches will have to be taken away from some countries to give these countries at least 5 matches each. Was it the correct thing, or did Jamaica not bidding and Dominica pulling out? Was that beneficial to the other 9 hosting citizens? Bobby, go first, and then Garvey.
So with Dominica pulling out, so US would always be in it, right?
Yes, the difference is that you want to think about it some more and let Garvey answer first.
Yeah, let me think about it.
Go ahead, Garvey. So the question is that if Jamaica and Dominica were there, it would have been 11 hosting cities instead of the 9, and matches would have to be creamed off from those 9 hosting cities to give to Jamaica and Dominica. Was it a blessing that these 2 countries were not there?
All right. Here's my confusion in the whole matter of that. Because remember, we're in this business to make money. It's not just about to host matches, but everybody wants to make money. So what confuses me personally is that the West Indies Cricket Board, as a member of ICC, would have been privy to know the information to know how feasible the last World Cup was? Wouldn't they have an idea how much money could be made per match? And if so, this could be used as a guideline to know that if we bid on a World Cup and we get X number of matches, then we could have a pretty good idea how feasible it would be in terms of the return on investment. So in terms of that question, it's like, cool, it could be 3 matches, but what if you're making $5 million per match? That's still 15 million. So
okay, I got you, Garvey, got what you said, but how would we generate that? Because, Bobby, look at Uganda playing Papua New Guinea in Guyana. Where's that? How is that going to make money? Persons from Guyana are already saying that they are not going to the matches. How is Papua New Guinea playing against Uganda at the National Stadium in Guyana going to make money?
Solely TV rights. Just by TV rights.
So, but the TV rights, isn't the TV rights ICC money, and then Guyana Cricket Board and the government will get a surplus, a portion of the surplus from ICC? But but the gate receipts, because I want to understand it, and maybe Damien or Andre can help me to understand this, or Michael Douglas can help me to understand it. How does the revenue sharing goes? Is it gate receipt for the Guyana government and the cricket board? Or is everything goes back to the ICC? Andre, can you help me to understand this, please?
I'm not sure of the intricacies where that's concerned, really. So I'm not in a position to answer that, the finances. I'm not sure the intricacies where that is concerned.
Okay. Damien think that the only matches that would not have been touched is the USA games. Do you believe that? Sorry, do you believe that, Garvey?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Okay.
And as I said before, the cricket board should be privy to how they are privy to the financial status of these matches. They know the TV rights, and as the gentleman rightly said, I think people don't realize how lucrative these TV deals are. The gate receipts money is minuscule compared to what these TV rights monies are. So sometimes you could be watching a match and the stadium is empty, but because of the TV rights money, you're making a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just to give a background on the TV rights, how the TV rights deal works is that all this money that you see ICC will give to the test playing nations and the associate members and so on, they would have negotiated a TV rights deal for 4 years, from 2023 to 2027. As you heard in my preamble, India would have supplied the most of that money, followed by England. It so happened that although the United States of America remained third on the list, the amount of money they were expecting from Willow Sport in the USA did not materialize. They still got more than what they had received from Australia. So the TV right amount is fixed. I do not want to quote the figure. I do not remember the figure, but I think for the 4 year, it's somewhere about $4 billion. 3 billion plenty. So that's for the 4 years. So the TV right amount is a fixed deal for all ICC tournament right across. $4 billion. So if they have 10 world tournament in that 4 year, it's not that they get 40 billion. It is still the 4 billion for all of those tournaments. That's how the TV rights go. Bobby, do you think that England and Australia should have put in the same group? Don't you think, for example, in Barbados, that England would have filled the stadium, whether they are playing against Australia or not, in Barbados?
Yeah, definitely. If England and Australia didn't have the same group, they would have filled the stadium in Barbados, and probably in Antigua as well, or anywhere they're playing. If India and England and Australia was playing in the same group, they would have a packed stadium. But back on the TV rights thing. So even if ICC makes more money, them give more, get an understanding, they still give the countries a set price.
That the TV rights deal is fixed for the 4 years. The figure in my head is 3-point-something billion for the 4 years. So it is not like every tournament there's a different TV rights. The TV, when Star Sports or Disney Star, I can't remember right now, when they negotiated that TV rights, it was for the 4 year duration. So it was one money for the 4 year duration, which gave them the rights to all world event during that 4 years.
Okay. So the carrier is
Yes.
the one that makes. So the carrier pays the cricket board a set price, and the carrier then gets the extra money or whatever.
The carrier now sells it to different partners all around the world.
Okay.
But they give the cricket board one money for the 4 years. It's not split up from tournament to tournament. It's one money. Mr. Casanova is agreeing with Garvey. So there's someone agreeing. West Indies in the group of death, no doubt. We should try to make a big statement in this group. The ICC fixed these groups for sure. Andre, is the West Indies in a group of death?
Well, the most two challenging games will be the game with New Zealand and Afghanistan. And I think that New Zealand is a pretty very very good T20 team, but we can beat them. And also Afghanistan, I think we are ahead of them, which is a dangerous team, but we can also beat them. But not to be taken lightly though, because we really cannot take anybody lightly in T20 cricket. But based on our form, and if our form continues, I see no reason why West Indies should not advance from our group. But I want to go back to something that Damian said about the US games would have been fixed even if Jamaica and Dominica were in. I don't think so, because when I look at two of the games that will be played in New York will be that of Sri Lanka versus South Africa, and Netherlands versus South Africa. I think that if Dominica and Jamaica were given games, these two, would probably be in one of those countries. So I don't think is a case where it would have been fixed in any case. I do believe that Indian games, the first round games, would have been played in New York and Fort Lauderdale, irrespective. But other games, including Sri Lanka, South Africa, Netherlands, South Africa, I don't think those games would necessarily have to be played in New York.
So, all right. So coming back, so do you see Garvey? Garvey, do you see Sri Lanka, South Africa, or Ireland, South Africa filling up Sabina Park?
But I mean, you never know, because they could have tourists to fill the stadiums. But I mean, I think we are past that level in sports now, where the commercial appeal of sports is not so much reflected in the gate receipt. It's more along the line of streaming platforms and the whole idea of paying to see him, because you have to pay. No matter, if you look even at American sports, there's no sports on free television anymore. All the games you have to pay for. It's all on cable. So, I mean, that's the way to go. We can't be stuck in the archaic era of saying, oh, we have to fill the stadiums per se. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be people at the stadiums, but I mean, I remember years ago I saw these numbers in a test series between Pakistan and the West Indies. How much millions of US dollars the West Indies Cricket Board were getting in TV rights for that, just to be shown back in Asia. And at that point, I realized that sports have been past that point now. We're past the point where we measure sports off gate receipts.
Still with you though, Garvey. With West Indies playing Afghanistan in St. Lucia, and the pitch is expected to be fast, do you think that was a strategic decision to play against Afghanistan in St. Lucia?
Good question. Well, I mean, you're at home. Why not give us home cooking, man?
Okay, thank you. Bobby, I'm coming to you, Bobby. Dr. Charlotte talk about 1 billion viewers. This dwarf the number of viewers from the ODI World Cup in India. And we are not talking about persons who attend the match. We are talking about those who are watching on digital platforms and on television. 1 billion, isn't that a small number compared to the numbers coming out of the ODI World Cup in India?
Yeah, that's a small number. I don't know what he's gauging that number from, but it's a small number. I think it could be more, if you ask me, because we have 20 teams.
Right. I think I saw a number somewhere, and I was about to check it before I came on here just to double check. But there's a number for 729 billion. And I was wondering, I don't remember what that number is for. So 1 billion is very small for Dr. Charlotte to say it's only 1 billion. Isn't that too small, Andre? Isn't that too small a number?
He probably is just being a bit conservative there. He just put this, all right, 1 billion people. So I'm thinking that probably he's a bit conservative in the way he gauge the numbers.
No, but to be conservative is one thing, Garvey. But to be ridiculously low is another thing. The CPL was watched by 700 million viewers last year.
Yeah.
The CPL, 700
Yeah.
million viewers. Most persons do not have any attachment to the teams in the CPL. It's only we Caribbean persons, by and
Yeah.
large. And now you have countries are participating, which there's emotional attachment. 1 billion is ridiculously small.
It sounds small, but see, that's isn't that information accessible to the public?
Yes, that information is definitely accessible to the public, and that's why you have to ask, why would Dr. Shallow come with such a small figure of 1 billion? It's absolutely small.
I mean, maybe he meant 1 billion persons, not like 1 billion views overall. Maybe that's what he meant.
Because 1
No, but 1
million.
billion views is very small because, as I'm saying, that the CPL alone last year, the CPL reached over 700 million, which is almost 250 million persons, and that is the CPL. I know we are talking about a world tournament. 1 billion.
Yeah,
I'm
but
disappointed.
the final alone would get a billion views, wouldn't it?
Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead, Garvey.
No, I'm asking, wouldn't the final by itself get a billion views?
The finals by itself may well get a billion views.
That's what
Well,
I'm saying.
it
Very
may
well.
well be. It may well be. It may well be.
Yeah.
Yes, Damian. Yes, Damian Dilton. Yes, I just clarified that the TV rights will not go directly because that has been negotiated long time, and that's the money that, like the $27.5 million that CWI is getting from the ICC per year. That $27.5 million come from this negotiated TV rights. So that TV rights money doesn't go directly to the World Cup any at all. So Ram is saying, Ram Cricket Shots, how are you doing? Do you think that within this group is the toughest? Not necessarily. I just think that probably Afghanistan and New Zealand will give them some issues. Yes, host countries, yes, Lodrick, Simbi, we agree with you. Gentlemen, how do you see this World Cup going, Bobby? Starting with you, Bobby, do you think that if the West Indies, how far, let me put the question this way, Bobby, and starting with you, this is for all three of you guys. How far does the West Indies need to reach for Darren Sammy to keep his job and the president not to resign?
How far? I mean, I would say for Darren Sammy to keep his job, I think Darren Sammy should keep his job even if we might not get out the group. But I think if we get out the group, once we get out the group, I think Darren Sammy has done enough because he has won 2 out of 2 series this year. He's won our ODI series. So I would say Darren Sammy's job is in any jeopardy right now. And if you ask me how far I think West Indies can go, I think we can win it. We have a team that can win it. The T20 team right now in the West Indies is one of the toughest teams to pick. So I think we have a legitimate chance of winning this T20.
So you think, and I'm coming to you guys, remember the same question, how far does West Indies need to go for Darren Sammy to keep his job? So you think that a World Cup and a coach don't reach the final or the semi-final and he should still keep his job? What are we in cricket for? To play games, or are we there to win World Cups?
No, well, with West Indies, remember we're still kind of in some type of transition, and it's a 2020 World Cup. It took Australia about 15 years or so before them win one. So
how many coaches did they change in that time?
Maybe 4 or 5, but I don't think it was because them not winning the 2020 World Cup.
Andre, what do you think, Andre? How far does the West Indies need to reach?
Unmute.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, at least we need to reach the semi-final stages, really, because playing in the World Cup in the Caribbean, right? And with this, we are familiar with Caribbean condition. It is our home, and would have done well last year in T20 T20 cricket. We beat the likes of South Africa, India, and England. So I think not advancing to the second round would be a big disappointment. And I would see if we fail to advance from the group stages, I think I just don't see how Sammy would possibly keep his job from that, because I just don't see that any at all.
And over to you, Garvey. What's your views?
I mean, to be honest, I can't see any way him losing his job unless we fall out at the group stages. If we fall out at the group stages, then that's highly possible. But other than that, I don't see him losing his job. As far as how far we could reach, I think we have all the ingredients to win it. Starting with leadership, I think we have one of the best captains in the world. I'm awfully impressed with Mr. Power's leadership. Then we have one of the top slow bowlers in the world in Young Hussein. We have good quick. We have good all-rounders. We have solid batting in the beginning, and we have great finishers that can finish at the end of the inning. So, and I think we have pretty good fielding. So I can't see any reason why we can't win it. It all depends. But you know, it's a tournament, so things cannot go your way and whatever. But in terms of him losing his job, I think the only way that happens is if we bomb in the first stages.
Okay, my view on Sammy, I really believe that if the West Indies doesn't reach the semifinals, I personally will be Sammy out. If he doesn't reach the semifinal, I will be Sammy out. Now, as for Dr. Shallow, I agree with what Damian Hilton is saying here, that the president tenure is in question with or without success at this tournament. I agree with Damian Hilton. Gentlemen, do you agree with that comment from Damian Hilton?
In question though, because I mean, from I don't see. I think Dr. Shallow has done numerous. I would give him credit for a number of things that he has done right so far. I can't pinpoint a lot of things to say that he has gotten wrong. So I don't see why his tenure would be in question. When you look at female cricket and what he has done in terms of, I mean, females are now, traveling more comfortable. They have, I think the relationship with the board and the players, have improved. So I can't pinpoint anything to say Dr. Shallow has gotten that wrong so badly, so his tenure would be in jeopardy. I really can't see that. I don't agree with that.
Saying that the relationship with the players and the board have improved, I I have to be guarded about that. Is it that you say it has improved because the players are not rebelling? Because I am one person who believes that when persons are in their comfort zone, they will not rebel. And a team that is in its comfort zone is not improving. For a team to improve, they have to move outside of their comfort zone. And then it's where you hear grumblings. But my other point about Dr. Shallow, though, is that he was given an empty goal. He was given an empty goal, He shouldn't be missing. And he's been missing on a number of things. Despite those goals that he have scored, it was an empty goal. And it still is an empty goal, but he's firing some shots wide of the mark. Bobby, is Dr. Shallow tenure is in jeopardy?
I don't think for this term. I would give him a next term. I like what they're doing with the youth. If you ask me, the only thing that I would like to see them improving is with the guys. Grow some, have some stability with the longer formats of the game. But other than that, I think Dr. Shallow has been going on pretty decent.
Garvey, what is your view on Dr. Shallow's tenure?
Well, in your opening statement, you said he did something that no other West Indies Cricket Board president has done, right? So that tells you some untoward things going on at the board. So for me personally, I'm not really pleased with his leadership.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So Lorraine State is saying that the team not great, so any positive result is a win for them. Don't necessarily share your view, Lorraine Stone, but your opinions are always welcome. Mr. Casanova is saying that we gotta beat India and South Africa to win it all, and we can beat them because we have done so, and this is in the Caribbean. And Donald Popper, I agree with you that Darren Sammy is doing good, but good is not satisfactory to me. I want great. I want excellent. So no problem. I agree with you that he's doing good. Gentlemen, starting with you, Andre. Give me a final comment, please.
Wait, just to get back on one thing I have to give. One thing I would really give. I mean, Dr. Shallow some credit. I for one was a bit. I was against the Darren Sammy appointment, but we have to give him credit, and I felt that the players themselves were very much comfortable with Darren Sammy being coach. And the result Darren Sammy got last year in T20 cricket by beating India, England, and South Africa, you know,
No, I never.
so we have to give Dr. Shallow some credit where his credit is due, right? And among a number of other things too. So yes, I to start with that. No,
But no, don't move. You give Dr. Shallow credit for the appointment of Darren Sammy. I would have said that I don't have an issue with the president getting his man. That is my view. Many times I've said it. I would not have selected Darren Sammy as a coach, but at the same time I do not have an issue with the president getting his man. But it was the same Darren Sammy who was at the head when we did not qualify for the ODI World Cup. So if you're going to give them credit, you must also point that out. But continue to your next point.
yeah, we know, yeah, we failed to qualify. That is true, but I was only, so I give him credit in that sense, and we all know that even for the ODI World Cup, we're missing a few players and so on, and certain things were very much out of our hand. But let me just continue though. Yes. So with that said, now, yes. So with that said, I'm really looking forward to West Indies doing very well at the T20 World Cup. I think that we continue to improve. I think we have, a good blend of experience and youth, and playing in the Caribbean. I really expect us to do well. I expect West Indies to put on a good show come June.
Thank you very much, Andre. Bobby?
Well, back to if we are asked who should lose their jobs,
So Bobby, we lose Bobby there for a moment. I think Bobby probably got a call. You got a phone call, Bobby. You just went for a moment. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, so I'm saying back to that point. If anybody job should be in jeopardy, I would say the selectors, right? And the reason why I would say the selectors is bad communication, based on what this man here is saying. He's thinking about guys not calling them, not telling them that. So if anybody should, if I want to see something improve, is from the selectors. I know that they haven't they didn't retain, what's his name, Roland Butcher. So yes. I don't know if they are retained Desmond Haynes, but if you ask me, I would like to see better communication from him, so these players cannot give any excuse anymore. And what was the next question?
No, what's your summing up comments?
Okay, I'm willing to see how this white ball team does in Australia for those 6 games. So then we can judge how we'll perform in the World Cup. So that's all I have to say right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Bobby. And I just want to respond to 267 Natty. He's asking the question, when was the last a coach for the West Indies was great? My answer to that, Natty, is not when last a coach was great, but is that we must demand greatness from the present contemporary coach. So not because the past coach, in your opinions, were not great, it means that we should be satisfied with mediocrity from the present coach. We should demand greatness from the present coach. Go ahead, Garvey.
Yeah, let me piggyback on something that Andrew said. The appointment of Darren Sammy. Yes, I was a big fan of that also, Andrew, and the results have proven me correct. Remember, his middle name is Garvey, so that speaks well for him. And as far as the team is concerned, firstly, there's this bowler, I forgot his name, in the test squad that I'm interested to see how he performs down there.
Shamar Joseph.
Who?
Shamar Joseph.
Is that the young guy that just been Yes, him. I'm interested to see his performance down there, and especially the bowling unit. I'm not too high on the batting side, of course, but I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of watching the bowling unit to see how they come along in Australia, knowing that the pitches down there are kind of favorable to them. As far as the white ball team is concerned for next year's World Cup, I'm really intrigued. I think this team is really loaded, as I said, from captaincy to batting to bowling to finishing to fielding. I think we have all the ingredients to win it, and things just need to break our way,
Well, thank you very much, Garvey. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It was a good morning. It is still morning in Jamaica. It was a good show. We had some insight there. My personal view on it, I'm happy that the World Cup is in the West Indies. When I look at all the data in front of me, I'm not satisfied with that this tournament will be this big beneficial tournament to the West Indies as persons are selling it to be. My greatest concern is that, for example, and this is just one, Uganda, how many persons from Uganda are going to come to the Caribbean as tourists? What is the airlift like from Uganda to Jamaica or to St. Lucia or to Barbados? We have no airlift coming out of those countries directly to the Caribbean. So what is going to put in place to get those tourists to the Caribbean? Is a airline is going to say, if I'm going to fly to the Caribbean, we need a guarantee that we'll make a profit and so on. So I do, in my personal opinion, and I respect everyone's opinion, those of you who think that this World Cup is going to make money, I respect your opinion. I think it is going to make money, but a lot of countries also, a number of countries also, will be crying at the end of the day, say that the earnings that they expected never materialize. Like Damian Hilton, I agree that the Jamaican government and the Dominican government and the authorities in both countries, including the Cricket Association in both countries, dodge a bullet. I do not think that it would have benefited us in the way that it is being promoted. Thank you all, gentlemen. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a wonderful afternoon, and may God bless you. We'll be back here again tomorrow when we take a look at the year in review. Until then, have a great afternoon. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones.